So I don't usually do videos on one-shots as I prefer to make and cover longer form content, but as someone who's into Steven Universe, I couldn't not cover this video once it came to my attention. And considering the length of the video, I'll hop right into it. So this is the Ephrommentator, a good friend of mine, another member of the SEC, and he made a video on Hiding in Private's video defending Steven Universe against Lily Orchard. The video is fairly short as it only covers one point, so that's all the context you need. And the reason I'm even giving this context is that, first and foremost, Ephraim doesn't. We hop straight into the video with no context given, just a clip in the middle of it. Now since this is a one-shot, I can understand waiting to hop right into it, but a brief idea of what you're covering is never a bad thing. Although, this could just be me being a stickler.
The half measure, blink and you'll miss it representation isn't new. It's been a
Bruh, she just called Steven Universe half measure, blink and you miss it representation. Do you think it's blink and you miss it representation when the entire reason that the Steven Universe hate train got off the ground is because of how much people hate gay people? Nearly the entirety of ER's video is either shifty things claiming lesbians are abusive people who serve bad relationships, or making arguments against the existence of trans people, or implying that if you acknowledge gender exists, you're a pedophile. That was the whole crux of ER's video. We watched it. We went through it. Obviously, it's not blink and you miss it. If conservatives felt so threatened by the show that they felt they needed to stomp it out. And what were the conservative complaints? Were they that the relationship between Pink Diamond and Pearl was a little abusive or abuse-coded in a way that was kind of problematic? No! Of course it wasn't. They didn't understand the show on that level. They just saw, oh, those two go by she, her, and they're raising a child. They're like lesbian parents. Disgusting.
You know, what bothers me about this point is how it completely ignores that much of the homophobic backlash centered around media throughout history has been over cases that were not even blink and you miss it. They were entirely made up. One obvious example can be found in the pages of the 1954 book Seduction of the Innocent, where the author claimed that the stories of Batman and Robin had gay subtext and that Wonder Woman was a lesbian. 45 years later, the famously homophobic Jerry Falwell launched a campaign warning that the Teletubbies was gay propaganda because of the purple Teletubby Tinky Winky. And those were both just off the top of my head. Fuck, when I told a friend of mine I was going to do this one shot, they brought up the example of Christian groups in the mid-2000s thinking SpongeBob and Patrick are gay. What I'm saying is, if these campaigns can occur in response to representation that doesn't actually exist, the idea that it would occur in response to blink and you'll miss it representation isn't all that far-fetched.
Yes, we can both agree that there are people who get mad at anything, including an example of made-up gay representation that they themselves made to get mad at. But that doesn't defeat Hiding in Private's argument, because the entire point was that people weren't even looking too deep to find an issue. Remember, this started with Lily's claim that the gay representation in Steven Universe is blink and you'll miss it. Hiding in Private's main point is that this is a blatant lie about the representation in the show, and saying homophobes getting mad at it aren't even looking too deep into blink and you'll miss it moments. Hence the hint towards the relationship between Pink Diamond and Pink Pearl and how it could be seen as abusive. It's highly implied this is the case, but not exactly outright stated. But a potentially toxic relationship wasn't the main issue detractors of this nature would bring up. They'd instead bring up the rather blatant examples of representation like, I don't know, just spitballing, an entire episode that started with the marriage of Sapphire and Ruby, aka the gems who made Garnet, and their very clear romantic relationship as two women. There are many other examples of this, but this is really the most in-your-face one. So, firstly, I gotta ask how these other examples at all relate to what Hiding in Private is even saying, and second, I gotta ask, what are you even talking about? None of this contradicts what they're saying, it just shows that people have gotten mad at stuff for less. If you want to actually tackle Hiding in Private's points, you need to find examples of people getting angry over small non-existent representations in Steven Universe, which, that's gonna be hard to find, since the show has a lot of space lesbians. Sure, Hiding in Private doesn't debunk Lily's point, but in a similar fashion, you don't debunk their point by saying people will get onto stuff for less, and can come across as moving the goalpost. Anyway, that's all I have to say on the matter. Take care, good evening, and good night.